Hey guys, Jim Vinosky with Manufacturing Talks. You guys probably seen my wall back here, the wall of metal, heavy metal and real metal steel making. Well, got a guy today who is involved in steel making, specifically not in making steel, but in taking pictures of steel mills all over the world. He's trying to document all the steel mills he can. Some are disappearing, unfortunately, but he also just loves the beauty of steel. That's the name of the project he's working on. His name is Viktor Mácha, and he is here on Manufacturing Talks with us today. Stay tuned for a message from our sponsor, DYS Media, and then we'll hop right in.
Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
DYS Media, your digital media relations agency. Public relations, website design, digital marketing. You get found by the customers and talent who need your solutions. You get media placements in top publications, the best job candidates coming to your website, a digital presence that gets you found by the right people. Call 616-298-8798 to get started today.
Welcome to Manufacturing Talks. I'm Jim Vinosky, your host. Thanks to our sponsor, DYS Media. And I'm pleased today to be joined by Viktor Mácha. He runs a little thing called the Beauty of Steel Project, and he's here to tell us all about it. He's coming to us from Prague, Czechia. Welcome, Viktor.
Hello, Jim. Hello.
How are you
very
today?
Much for the invitation.
It's great to have you here. We've got a lot to talk about. So, I've always kind of centered this thing around manufacturing. And to me, the nuts and bolts of manufacturing is metal and especially steel. So, I've been following you for years now. So it's just really, really glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. So jumping right in, before we get into the Beauty of Steel project, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into what you're doing.
That's a long story. Well, it is, that is dating back to the beginning of 20th century when my great-grandfather was a miner in Ostrava. And from that point, from my father and mother side, all my family members up until today were involved in the industry somehow. There were some economical directors in the mill. There were some technical translators, technological directors, every kind of imaging, everything you can imagine in the steel industry. And my uncle was a professional photographer, so I was watching him working when I was a child, and here I am. The genes got mixed up, and and this is how it ended. In other words, the steel industry was not a bad word in our families.
Right.
Never used to be. So basically, the industry was viewed as a inevitable part of our lives. And when I found out that the horizon started to change in the beginning of the 20th century, to 21st century, I was like 15, 16. That was a turning point, because the horizon, the landscape I used to know was, full of chimneys, blast furnaces, head frames, and this world started to disappear very fast.
Right.
So I just grabbed my first camera and entered the closest mine to my hometown, and that was it. It was inevitable.
Yeah, and similar story for a lot of communities over here in the U.S. as well. So I understand that motivation, and I'm glad you're up to it. Before we learn about that, though, I do have to ask you about one thing I saw in your background. You got your degree in religion and theology. So how did you go from that to documenting the steel industry?
I have always been interested in the religion, besides even before the steel industry, because my family is a Catholic one. I am raised as a Catholic, And during these rebellious years, when I was like 17, 18, I started to question myself, what the hell is this about? What the hell I'm believing into? So I decided to go a bit deeper. So I applied for the theological faculty and spent 5 beautiful years on the faculty. However, our country is, that there is not a good market for the religion, because from the statistic point of view, we are like the second most atheistic country in the world. So you can't really make much more money with theological and science of religion degree. So yeah, I started in completely different sector, and that was it. But since today, I can't really regret any single lecture I had at the faculty. So but that was completely a different world, just part of my personal growth, let's say.
Yeah, it's just an interesting aside. So that's pretty fascinating itself. So I'm curious about one other thing. You talked about seeing things disappear. And I know over here, we certainly had our steel plants that were going away, even dating back to like the 1970s, 1980s. But really, a lot of manufacturing was going overseas. What was it that prompted you specifically to focus on steel making?
Well, that's a difficult question. When I was 14, my parents took me to Beskidi Mountains, and Beskidi Mountains are situated on the eastern part of my country. And when you go to Beskidi, you need to go through Třinec, the town of Třinec. That's a very old steel city. And my parents wanted to show me the big industries there. They have a blast furnaces, steel plant everywhere, everything. And they wanted to show me the hot end, or the beginning of where all the metals are created, and show me and demonstrated me how this world of primary metals is very raw. And they tried to, let's say, scare me and show me that this is not the way I should go, to end up in a steel mill. They were hoping for a better future for me, probably. So we stopped near the blast furnace, and exactly at the same moment I stepped out from the car. There was the river, and beyond the river there was the tall structure of blast furnace number 6, and that was it. It was a religious experience, I can tell you. It was literally like standing in front of some unknown God who was talking to me in a language I haven't heard before, but I understood it. And since that very moment, I knew that this is it. This is something I need to be part of it anyhow, because I just fell in love with the smells, with the noises, with all those colors, with everything. It was overwhelming. So yeah, that was the turning point.
It's especially interesting given what you shared about your background in theology and religion to define it that way. And for me personally, I kind of feel an affinity with what you're saying, because I've been in manufacturing my whole career, doing lots of other things besides steel making. But to me, there's that fundamental creation piece that you get in very few other things we do as people that you can get in manufacturing or in craftsmanship, where you're creating something. And to me, like you say, it is a religious experience.
It is. It's quasi, from science of religion point of view, it's a quasi-religious experience.
Yeah.
But it is completely valid religious thing. Yeah. This is something. I think it's who was the scientist who called it? It's mysterium tremendum. It's something what you can't describe, what fascinates you on one hand, and on the other hand, it scares you. And this is exactly what I experienced standing next to the blast furnace. It was just something completely different what I knew before. It was so different.
Reached out and touched you, right?
Absolutely.
And you did say something important. It is a quasi-religion. So people out there, we're not asking for your worship, just your adulation. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So this thing reached out and grabbed you. Fortunately for your parents, you did not wind up working the manual labor in the steel mill. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I have the greatest admiration for those folks, but I also understand your parents thinking maybe you should do something different. So you wound up looking through a camera instead. Now, you've been doing this for years now. So
15
what I want to
years.
know are a couple things. We're going to start with the challenges end. What have been your biggest challenges around trying to document as much of the world's steel industry as you can?
It's always the same. The biggest challenge is getting the permission and convince the company that I'm not here to steal their technologies and sell it to Chinese or whatever, but I'm here to document and make their plant part of the project, part of the legacy for future generations. And this is so difficult and really so time consuming that many photographers doing completely different topics can't really imagine, it's not like flying to Alaska or I don't know, Himalaya mountains and pray for a good weather. This is completely different,
Yep.
You just need to get the permission and make it happen, and that can take years and years, to be honest.
It's interesting to me because with my background in manufacturing, I've seen exactly what you're talking about, the kind of closed shops where people think that everyone's out to steal their secrets. And yet what I've been preaching forever is really most of us in manufacturing don't have many secrets. Is that true of steelmaking, or do they really have intellectual property that needs to be guarded?
Well, over the last 15 years, I have seen like 3 to 4 mills, which were really unique in terms of production. There was something which I haven't seen before anywhere else, and that's something we can call the intellectual property. So basically, that's it. But all in all, most of the mills are doing the steel in the very same way,
Yeah.
So there is not much you can steal, so there are some intellectual challenges, but all in all, not a big drama.
Yeah, so I'm going to repeat my exhortation to all you manufacturers out there who think you've got big secrets. Do a little study. Make sure that you're not keeping people out when you really don't have any secrets at all, because keeping people out is hurting manufacturing.
Absolutely. When you keep people out, you're just being suspicious, and what is suspicious doesn't have a good reputation. And look at the steel industry in general. Steel industry doesn't have a good reputation at all.
Yeah, so, even though obviously it's been absolutely essential to mankind and our progress. Plus, thing I'm getting into here lately, and I don't proclaim to be an expert at steelmaking, but I know darn well there have been technical breakthroughs in the last few decades that have made steelmaking much more sustainable, much cleaner, much safer. And if we're not touting those things, everyone still thinks it's the steelmaking of the 19th century, and everyone's going to go there and die and get sick. And we're not marketing for our future employees and our future technologists, and that's one of the problems with getting the workforce today. Absolutely.
And the problem is that most of the common society, when it comes to the steel industry, everything what they see is some gray cloud making factory in the horizon, but that's it.
Right. Yeah.
If they would be allowed to jump over the fence or go through the gate and see the magic which is happening inside, and all those beautiful technological inventions,
right,
that would dramatically change the point of view from the vast society on the steel industry. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and that's where your work is just so vital, because you truly bring out the name of your operation here, the beauty of steel project. There is an absolute beauty to steelmaking that you just don't see anywhere else.
It is. You can't compare it with anything else.
Yeah.
It's just so unique.
Yeah, I can understand once getting that first taste what drew you into it. So that kind of leads right to my next question. We talked about the challenges. What are the biggest rewards of what you're doing?
Hmm. Oh, what's the biggest reward? Let's say the positive feedback from the society.
Yeah.
Because when I started many years ago, there were people, there were people not really understanding what I'm doing, and everybody was thinking, okay, that's some kind of urbex photography. What is that? But now, after so many years, I'm invited by galleries. I'm invited by cultural organization to have lectures, to have exhibitions, and I can really feel that the interest from the vast society is getting more and more big and deeper, and people are really interested what is going on behind the gray walls. So yeah, I'm not expecting to earn a lot of money with my project, but it was not about, it has never been about money,
Mhm.
The mission was to communicate the steel industry as an unreplaceable part of our society and culture. And finally, after so many years, I'm starting to see that something small is happening in the society, and they are starting to appreciate the beauty of steel.
Good. Yep. How many countries have you been to now?
I stopped counting, but it could be
Good.
right.
That's a good
It could
sign.
be yeah, it could be around, I don't know, 30 plus.
Wow.
Really not counting anymore.
Yeah. Well, understandably. So you were telling me before we got on, you just got back from Australia, and now here pretty soon you're headed out to Brazil.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, and obviously there's steel making all over the world. So glad you're getting out there and documenting all the different places.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, yeah, the big trips are coming.
Good.
I've covered large part of Europe, so really the rest of the world is waiting now.
Yeah.
I have a South Africa on my list for next year. I would love to visit Asian countries in the future, but these are one of the toughest to get the permission.
Right.
So yeah, I believe there is not only the language barrier, but also the culture barrier, because when you got a message from a white guy who would be interested to tour some steel mill in India, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of work in front of me.
Yeah. You mentioned around the religion and theology that wasn't necessarily the best way to make a living, and you talked about this not really being about making a bunch of money, but obviously you have to make a living. So, how are you making money while you do this important
Oh yeah,
work?
I'm in completely different sector. I'm into real estate. I'm renting
Okay.
apartments. So yeah, completely different.
Yep. Okay.
Seriously, the steel mill photography is just my hobby. So any kind of support is always very appreciated, but it's luckily not my main hobby. Otherwise, I will be eating bread and drinking water only, because
Right.
it's
Yes.
it's not a golden mine, to be honest.
Yeah, understood. That being said, though, you do have things for sale out of this work, right?
Yeah. I'm publishing the calendars every year. I started 3 years ago, and that's yeah. When speaking about rewards again, this could be one of the biggest reward, because I've published a calendar 3 years ago for the first time. I made some 400 copies, and I kid you not, the 400 copies were sold out after one post on LinkedIn in 3 days, which was
Wow.
absolutely amazing. I would love to make a bigger print, but basically the 400 copies is the maximum I can fit into my garage, because I'm oh yeah. I'm not a big businessman,
Yeah.
so I'm do all the packing and shipping by myself. So 400 copies is the limited edition.
Interesting. And then you have prints available as well?
Yeah, sure. Times by time, yeah. Private collectors are contacted me, or companies as well, who would like to decorate their interiors. So yeah, prints are also available.
Yeah. So, by this time, people should have been seeing some of your pictures. kind of overlaid on our discussion here, at least those of you on YouTube. If you're interested in that, we'll talk at the end about where to find those things. But yeah, I definitely for myself need to order a few prints. I've got a separate background for some of my work that is all about heavy metal. So it's heavy metal bands, and it's a couple of posters that are taken from paintings from a friend of ours, Corey Bonnet, who you're connected
Corey.
with on LinkedIn, right?
Oh yeah, that's a lovely person.
And so, in addition to his wonderful work, I definitely need some of your real world photographs of actual steel making on that wall. So I'll get those ordered here pretty quick.
Feel free to let me know anytime.
Cool. Okay, so we've talked about steelmaking and industry and your love for it, obviously you being pulled into what you're doing. But again, people in general, like you said, they don't know steelmaking at all. What do you have to say to people in general about steelmaking and industry and the kind of message that you want to get across to people as they think about looking at what you do, but also looking at broader manufacturing?
The message is simple. Let me in.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's the message number one. But the message number two, for all the workers inside the steel industry, that you should really be proud of what you are doing. And I know these times of sustainability and green steel technologies and ecological and environment-friendly processes are pretty tough. But you are the one who forged our civilization. The steel industry forged our civilization. Without the steel, we would be eating bananas probably. So that's it. Be proud of what you are doing, because without the steel, there will be no civilization. So
Right.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, I mean, have people look around where they're sitting right now, and so much of what they see relies on the steel industry.
Absolutely. And recently I've started a small project that I'm having lectures on elementary schools for kids. And I'm lecturing them with my pictures about the importance of the steel industry and mining. And I would love you to see their faces, because they are so absolutely surprised and excited how the steel industry is important and beautiful on the other side. It's unbelievable, because the youngest generations has no idea how the industry is connected with our lives. Without the steel industry, there will be no Facebook, no TikTok, whatever. It's just the steel is the core of everything. And yeah, so that's my mission for the next years, to keep on lecturing the youngest generation.
Yep. Well, and there's a couple of great messages there. In addition to the one you said up front about getting into places, is the people in those places who are doing the hard work. They're truly heroes. They're the backbone of our economy in so many ways. So I love that one. And then, yeah, the outreach to our youth to make them understand that, not only is there a good living out there in steelmaking and other manufacturing, but there is a beauty to it.
Absolutely. There is nothing more beautiful when a dark factory hall glows up with the orange hot metal. It's really pure magic. I have no other words for it. It's like having fireworks every day, many times every day. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I wish more people would be able to see this.
And it certainly comes through in your photographs. So I do encourage everyone out there. Again, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing some of his photos here, but get on Viktor's website and check out there's just reams and reams of photographs that will grab you like they grabbed Viktor in the early days. I'm curious, and I'm no photographer either, but I know a little bit about some of the techniques. Are there special techniques that you have to use to be able to capture, like you say, all that hot metal and just amazing light and colors that go along with pouring steel? Anything special that you've had to learn along the way to be able to document that?
To be honest, I don't know, because I've never read a single book about photography. I've never went to a single workshop, so I don't know the basic techniques of photography. I really don't know. So yeah, I do what I do, and if it's special or not, I have really no idea.
That's
I-
amazing.
uh,
You do what you
I-
have to do.
yeah.
Excellent. You mentioned real estate, so you've got a separate business. What else are you doing on the outside? I mean, you can't be doing this all the time. You have family, do other stuff for fun?
The steel mills are my fun.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
and to be honest, that's really taking so much of my free time and my main time. So no time for anything else.
Yeah.
I,
Well, I
I'm a big
understand that.
yeah, I'm a big admirer of art as well. So I'm trying to support artists which are reflecting the heavy industry as well. So that's my another hobby, but all it's linked to the steel industry. So yeah. For
Fabulous.
example, for example, that painting behind me, that's from Grigory Ivashchenko. That's a Ukrainian artist who died 4 years ago, and he was from Krivoy Rog. And that painting behind me shows the beautiful industrial landscape of Krivoy Rog, which is very endangered right now. So yeah.
Unfortunate, but it is a phenomenal painting for sure. Excellent. Anything to wrap up with? Last message to folks?
Again, let me in. Don't keep the photographers too far from your gates, because otherwise you will get really, really strange.
I want to echo that again. Understand if you truly have trade secrets, you don't want someone taking pictures of it. You still have stuff Viktor can take pictures of. You have the basic operation that everybody has. So let them in the door, let them document your plant. It'll be well worth it for your sake and for our society's sake. Where do they find you, Viktor?
Pardon me?
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No. Basically, that's all. I'm here for you guys from the steel industry. So that's it. Became part of the legacy. It's now or never.
Where do they find you? Where's your website?
My website is under viktormacha.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, where I'm spending most of my time if I'm not on travels. So that's it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Viktor. It's been a fascinating discussion. Definitely get out there and check him out. Viktor Mácha at the Beauty of Steel Project over in Prague. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone out there, thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks. Thanks to our sponsor, DYS Media. Tune in every Tuesday. We can't promise every story is going to be as phenomenal as Viktor's, but it's going to be good. All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Watch for new episodes dropping every Tuesday. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.